So what's up guys, welcome to this very unusual video I would say, but we thought it was time to really break down the video that went sort of viral this weekend. We made a compilation video about all the, well not all, but some of the failures we've had on the Autobahn, and we thought it would be interesting to also show you that sort of side of the story we've been recording for over 10 years now on the Autobahn.
Yeah, because this is also a part of it. We drive a lot of cars on the Autobahn. It's been 15 years, but 10 years of driving on the Autobahn.
Yeah.
About 150 to 200 cars a year. It's between 1,500 and 2,000 cars we've pushed on the Autobahn. Really pushed. We push all the cars, we do measurements, so we need to push the cars.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point?
That's what we're about, you know.
Yeah.
Measurements, top speed runs.
Yeah.
And the people who apply with their cars, they know what we're going to do with the
Yeah.
car. We're not going to do any, fuel economy testing
No.
or stuff like that. So,
So we thought it would be good to walk you through, because this is a follow-up of this video.
Yeah.
We will walk you through in chronological order what happens when someone submits their car for our YouTube channel. How we deal with these people beforehand, what we do during the filming, what we do after filming, and we'll also walk through the video, the failures at least, and try to explain what happened. If we know, we don't know what happened exactly with all of them.
Yeah.
But if we know, we will share it with you, and we will also tackle some of the comments that were recurring the most, and the questions that you asked as well. Yeah, so...
and then there's also the special case of the RS3 that
yeah.
went, and then this became sort of a thing on Instagram.
Yeah, so
we're also going to address that.
we have a lot to do. Let's dive in. Firstly, what happens if someone submits his or her car,
Yeah.
for our YouTube channel? They send us a message or an email. Usually it's on Instagram or an email. And they ask us, do you want to drive my car? So the first thing we do is we sort of scan the car and the owner.
Yeah.
What kind of car is it? There are, usually they are modified. Most of them are modified. So we try to gauge, we try to estimate what kind of thing is this? Can we push it on the Autobahn? That's step one, because we know, we push cars and weak links of cars get exposed when you push them.
Yeah,
It's
a stress test.
Yeah, it's a stress test. It's the same when you drive it on the track.
Yeah.
It's on the Autobahn as well, because, things get hot, pressures run high, shit happens.
Yeah.
Especially with tuned cars. So we assess if we want to drive this car on the Autobahn. If we do, we send them a message. If we don't, we also send them a message. But if we do, we send them a message. We've got it on screen right now. We explain what we do, where we meet, what happens, and also that we are not responsible for any technical failures,
Yeah.
but we are responsible for things that we cause. So if we crash the car, if we hit the guardrail, or we do a drift and it goes wrong, whatever, that is our responsibility, but a technical failure is not. And
Exactly.
there are a few reasons for that. Number one, you cannot know all the underlying issues of a car going into this. We cannot do like a full run through of the car, put it up on the lift, check everything.
We're not mechanics.
We're not mechanics, but it's not possible.
No.
We can't run a compression test, or we can't do that stuff. We just have to, we have to trust that the owner of the car who submits it knows that the car can do what
Yeah.
we do with it. So we trust the owner that the car is
and
good.
they know what we're going to do
Yeah.
with it. No one is like, oh, I didn't expect you guys to push it.
Yeah, and I think another reason why we do this is that you keep out people who are not sure if their car will survive this. So if we say we are not responsible for technical failures, then a lot of people will think, maybe not with my car, maybe my car will not survive that. So then you keep that out as well.
And we also ask people okay, how are your brakes? How is your oil? When has it been changed?
Yeah.
And then, sometimes we suggest doing a big service and then,
Yeah.
coming back or...
Yeah, and it even happens when people are already there. So it also happens that people bring their car. We think it's a good car. We either see the car and we're immediately like, no, we're not going to do this. Or one example is very recently an M340i that was really not running well. Yeah. So Martijn came back and we gave the car back and we said, no, it's not great.
In that case, I could feel the turbo pressure at high RPM going up and down. So for me, that's a reason to reject the car. Yeah. There is something that is going wrong. Yeah. So,
and also I've also rejected a car that had really shit brakes, for instance. So I got onto the autobahn.
Alignment.
Yeah, hit the brakes for the first time, started shaking. I'm bringing the car back. I'm not doing that. So we really try to make sure that we on our end do everything to make sure that the car will survive and that it is up for the job.
Yeah. For the car's safety and ours.
For the car's safety and ours. Yeah. And again, let me stress this again, because there are a lot of comments about us breaking these cars. We've done so many cars, like 2,000 cars, and you are watching 11 cars breaking down of those 2,000. So it's such a small percentage. It has nothing to do with us pushing too hard or breaking stuff or being idiot drivers or whatever. I mean, it's also YouTube, I know, but if we shift too early, then we're idiots because we're not, getting everything from the car. And then if we shift too late, we're idiots because we're shifting too late. I get it. You can't win. But I just want to stress that it's a very small percentage of cars that fail. And we do everything we can to make sure that it doesn't happen. Also for the safety of other people on the road. Because, sometimes oil leaks, and it's just also not great.
Yeah, it was a lot about the red line I saw.
Yeah, a lot of comments.
The red line is the part right before the rev limiter. So a factory car has a rev limiter, and it gets like durability testing when they develop an engine is like 20 hours of
continuous red line. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that we do that gear after gear is not going to do anything with a stock car. And I also want to mention, we've done over 1,000 stock cars, I guess, on the Autobahn. I can think of one that failed, and that was the M550D, which is
the
notoriously bad.
Yeah. That's the only stock car that failed on the Autobahn.
I mean, that's how reliable a stock car is. Yeah. So when you start tuning, of course, reliability goes down. That's quite obvious, I guess. So when we get a tune car, well, maybe not with the stage 1, just a simple remap. Those are also quite reliable. But with a heavily modified car, like build engine, big turbo, stuff like that, I'm always the first one to drive the cars. And I always do a run-up lap and see how it feels. And then I start doing measurements, and after that Max records the full review. But I just want to mention that I always ask the owner, how should I behave? Where should I shift? Do I need to give it a bit of a resting period? Stuff like that, you know. How should I treat the car? Does it come with a manual?
Yeah. Gearbox. Yeah, so it also happens. I also want to say I also saw a lot of comments of people responding to other comments, like explaining stuff. So that is also really good. But for instance, with heavily tuned cars, you sometimes have a rev limiter that is much higher than it shows
with bigger turbos. Or
than it shows on the rev counter. Yeah. So you can go past the red line basically, and the rev limiter is way higher.
For instance, the RX8. Well, we are going to walk through all the videos in a moment, but with the RX8, it has the red line of 7,000 RPM, but it was the RX8 in a 192 horsepower version and a 230 horsepower version, and in this case, it was the least powerful version, but with a tune, so it could do more RPM and stuff like that. Well,
exactly.
It couldn't, but it's an RX8, so... Yeah. I love that comment about, we knew...
When I saw an RX8, I knew what was going to happen.
That was a good comment,
So, I hope that this explains part of all your questions. Yeah. And I also agree with a lot of you that we should have added context to the video. So, we will do that in the future. Yeah. Because it was
a first, of us showing this side of
We've never shown it. Also, I don't think it's cool or anything like that to do this. Or yeah, it's just I think this is also part of it, and
I think it was cool. I think it was cool to show.
no, I don't. I mean, I don't think it's cool to ruin cars.
No,
to
definitely
break
not,
down,
no.
to break cars. But I just think it's cool to show because it also is part of our job.
Yeah.
And we also have tuned cars, and we also drive them really, really hard. And if we break our own tuned cars, we also just accept the consequences. It's just part of the game.
That's part of the tuning romance.
It's part of the tuning game. You break it, you reach the limit of what your car can do. You break it, and then you build it a little bit stronger, and you can go a little bit further. That's kind of the tuning game.
Definitely.
So, let's have a look at the first car, which is a Porsche 991.2. Heavily tuned car.
Different turbos.
Yeah, different bigger turbos. Had like 900 horsepower, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
So, again, Martijn did his warm-up lap first. Then he's doing the measurements now. So he is extracting everything from the car. Also trying to do a top speed run, of course, which we always do. And you can see it goes. You can see the smoke coming out of the exhaust. In this case, I think it was a turbo failure.
I don't know. We still don't know what happened. But we did have a comment from 911ATX. Do you know, guy?
Yeah.
From Instagram. He has one of these cars.
Yeah.
And apparently they have this notoriously bad part that
I saw that as well.
gives in. So I guess that's what went wrong.
So that might be it.
Yeah.
We don't know exactly. But the turbos failed, definitely. And a lot went wrong with that one.
Next one.
Next one is the RX8. As Martijn said, this is a tuned car. The rev limiter is much higher, so you can run it up to the rev limiter. You should be able to run a car up to its rev limiter. That's why it's there, to protect the engine. This is Pim, by the way. He's our our intern.
Our colleague.
It's quite a slow car.
It is very slow, yeah. Definitely.
But so you can run it up to... I think it's already...
It's dying here.
It's dying here, yeah. So it died here, yeah.
So you could see that it wouldn't go any further in terms of RPM.
Yeah. So also, at this point, we're not exactly sure what is going on. After, okay, so it's gone. But when it's happening, you don't know if it's just a loss of power, which can also be temporary, or that it is an absolute failure. So you're just trying to gauge, trying to feel what is happening. What is going on? Do I still have a little bit of power, or is everything gone? And here Martijn calls me and says, yeah, you can come. And so I pick him up, and then we call the tow truck who came and towed the car.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what happened with it.
No,
but apparently
it's an RX8.
Yeah, there are some seals that are... I saw a comment about this as well, that there are some seals on the engine that are made from cardboard, basically. Okay. So apparently those seals blow really easily.
I think the RX8 has more than one.
Yeah, I think it has a lot of issues. Okay, Supra DCT.
Yeah, let me explain this car. So this came all the way from the UK, and it is a freaking cool car. So it's a Supra Mark IV with a 2JZ engine and a DCT gearbox from an M3 E92. I thought that was the coolest car ever.
Yeah.
Also, I asked the owner, because you weren't there that day, like, how is the car? Yeah, it's really good. And he was driving from the UK to...
Yeah, he drove 1,200 kilometers or something.
That's going to be a reliable car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I met up with him and I asked, okay, how should I treat the car? How should I drive it? It was a bit clumsy with the DCT and stuff, which is always the case with either engine swaps or gearbox swaps.
Yeah.
You get a lot of...
It's the case with heavily tuned cars in general. Yeah. They run a bit rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the owner then said to me, yeah, I haven't given it the full beans in like 2 years. And I didn't give it the full beans going here.
Yeah.
So I was the first one to really push it in a long time. Play the video.
Very cool car.
Very short gear ratio, so you can see it shifting up at 8.5 and then going back to 7.5. That's super short.
Also, is it already dying here?
No, it's not. That's the GoPro dying.
So, this is where it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I also want to address another issue, which is that there were a lot of comments about us pushing the cars. Also, some of these videos, the owners are driving themselves, but us pushing the cars, the driver pushing the car, while you could hear that something was up already. So it's very difficult to hear that when you're actually in the car driving. You have the exhaust sound, you have the wind noise, tire noise, engine noise. You're trying to figure out how to drive the car. And these like knocking sounds or stuttering, stuff like that, you don't really hear that when you're in the car.
No, the camera picks up.
Yeah, the camera picks it up
and
sort of highlights it weirdly, but you can hear much more of the engine failing on camera than you can when you're driving the car. You know, exhibit A and B are the Integra, Honda Integra, and the Cadillac CTS-V. Both of those times the owners were driving and they were pushing it, even though you can hear on camera that something is not great, and they kept pushing it, and they know their cars, so you can't really hear it.
And obviously we would never
we don't
continue pushing a car if we would hear something, because we're always like, oh, do I hear anything? Do I feel anything?
We've sent people home with cars because we've felt little stutters or little hesitations, and we just didn't feel comfortable pushing the car. We just bring the car back and say, you know, get it fixed and come back if you want, or don't come back. We don't care. We just don't want to break your car. Okay. Next is the RS6.
That was the most epic one.
This is the most dramatic failure probably. Do we know the problem with the Supra?
Yeah, it was rod bearings.
Rod bearings.
Yeah, so it had an E92 gearbox and it came with the E92 problems.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so RS6, tuned, heavily tuned. RS6, very, very fast car, as you can see. It does these high speeds really easily. I was driving for, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe. Did a couple, I think 100 to 200 measurements, let the car cool down. Also did the tire pressures in the meantime. And
that's a big cloud.
This happened at 320 something or 330 kilometers an hour. All the coolant was gone in about 10 seconds. And this turned out to be a PCV failure. It wasn't that big of an issue, and there's a little bit of oil, as you can see, on the rear window. But it was not as bad as it looks, and luckily. But yeah, kudos to
Mr. A6.
Mr. A6 driver, who immediately stopped and asked me if I was okay or if the car was on fire. So next up, we've got, well, one of the craziest cars on our channel.
This was insane.
A manual CTS-V, 349 km/h GPS run. The owner is driving here. Super nice guy from the US.
Yeah.
And also probably the most laid back about the failure, because he was like, oh shit, it broke down. I have to.
Well, it happened like 4 times before this.
Yeah.
So.
I'll have to rebuild it.
Yeah.
I also don't know what he's doing there on the left. He's
adjusting
something on the car.
Yeah.
This was like the 4th time he blew this engine, and he was super easy.
And this was sort of a hero run.
Yeah. But it was incredible. The way this thing went from 300 to 350, it was just crazy. CTS-V was just, so heavily tuned, it just blew everything.
Totally crazy. Okay.
Okay, so this is probably the one that sparked the most comments, is this Integra Type R and the driver. Yeah, he's running up to the rev limiter, which is at 9,000 RPM. Shifting, it's nothing wrong with this per se. He's pushing the car, but you know, it should be able to be pushed. It's a tuned car, so the risk is higher.
That one I do want to mention. He had a friend with him who said, okay, I'm going to do a tune for this run.
Yeah, they turned it up.
Exactly.
To the max. They thought, okay, we need to, we want this car to be as fast as possible.
We witnessed that and we were like, okay, then you do the run yourself, because we don't really trust this. So he did, and our spidey sense was not wrong.
Yeah, so here it goes.
Because normally this is a K20.
Yeah.
K20 engines, we've had one. They are super reliable.
Yeah.
you can do this all day, normally.
Yeah. Yeah. What happened? I'm not sure.
Total meltdown. Just a bad tune.
Yeah.
I can conclude it's a bad tune.
Okay, next one. Oh, this is another stock car.
Oh yeah, we've had two.
This is the second stock car.
Yeah.
This is a McLaren 600 LT.
Well, you have a special McLaren section for reliability issues because a McLaren is just not they are so unreliable.
Yeah, we've done a lot of McLarens over the years, and we've had a lot of issues with them. Yeah. Mostly electronics and gearbox issues. So in this case, this was actually the second time we were driving this car, because the first time there was a failure on the gearbox and we were stranded on the side of the road in roadworks because the car would just shut down and we had to get out, lock the car for 10 minutes, let the ECU reset itself, and then you could drive again for 15 minutes. Yeah. So we brought the car back, they fixed it, and then we drove the car again, or Martijn did, and it was the same thing all over again. So we did manage to squeeze out a video.
Yeah.
So the car did
15 minutes. I had 15 minutes to record a video.
So the car worked long enough to do a video, but it just kept breaking down, and it was a transmission.
Yeah, it was a shortage on the transmission.
A shortage on the transmission.
Eventually, it was replaced.
The transmission.
The whole transmission, and it was like 35k.
Yeah. So next one is the S3 with, again, the owner driving. Oh, this is some Fast and the Furious shit here.
Brian O'Connor would have liked that.
Yeah, the owner is driving because it was heavily tuned.
And our spidey sense again said,
again, look at the red line, look at the rev limiter. This is the owner driving. He knows how to drive the car. He's pushing it.
It's a completely built engine, bigger turbo, so it would make no sense shifting at 6,500 RPM because you wouldn't even have, sorry Pim,
you wouldn't have
highest
full power.
turbo pressure. Yeah.
But also, so on this one I actually know, I have some pictures of the pistons. Apparently this was, the AFR was a bit too...
What air to fuel ratio?
Yeah, it should be around 14.8 apparently, and so it was running too lean. And I think it fried a couple of pistons. So yeah, again, this car was built for 1,000 horsepower with parts that, you know, should be able to take a lot, but something can go wrong, you know, it just, some system fails and still you can ruin the car. Not us driving, the owner driving, he knows how to drive the car, but still, you know, shit happens. Next up is the M550D. Notoriously bad engine.
Yeah, this was BMW's attempt to build a replacement for a V8 diesel.
Yeah.
They started out with a 3-liter diesel with 3 turbos with the F series.
Yeah. Was also not great.
They were super bad, and then the G30 came out and they thought, well, let's put in an extra turbo and make it a quad turbo.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
This is 8 years ago, maybe?
Something like that. Yeah.
So I don't really remember what went wrong. I don't know if we ever heard from BMW what went wrong.
No, but we just had to return it.
Yeah, we returned it and we got a new one a week later.
Yeah,
and
the Touring. Yeah, and that worked fine.
And that worked fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't know about that one, but
get the 40D, not the 50.
The 40D is usually the better option. Seat Ibiza, also heavily tuned. Very cool car actually.
Yeah,
sounded really good. Was also pretty quick.
Yeah.
Was also performing well until it failed, and I actually know the failure, which is 2 things.
Well, it is a 2-liter TFSI conversion.
Yeah, it's an engine.
DSG.
No, it's a stroker.
2.2.
Stroker. No, it's a 1.8 stroker, so it's a 2 liter.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool car. I know the failure. 2 things. One, there was an oil line that ruptured, so there was just a little hole in a steel braided oil line. And 2, there was something on the exhaust manifold that snapped, and that is why you had a loss of power first, and then it was leaking oil as well. So you stopped on the side of the road here.
In time, right?
Huh? Yeah, you stopped in time. Yeah, you stopped in time. So that was the sale of Ibiza. And he's coming back.
I think he is.
Hopefully he's coming back, yeah.
Then
we've got the RS3. So this is the RS3. Also a lot of comments about this because on Instagram, this owner shared a story saying that we blew up the engine, then ghosted him. We blew up the engine, we left, and then we ghosted him.
Yeah.
So we feel the need to address that because a lot of people saw that on Instagram and they were wondering what was going on. So I wasn't there that day. Martijn was driving. Take it away.
So I got approached by the tuner of this car. They asked me if I would like to test this particular RS3. I didn't know it was a privately owned car. So I said, yes, I am accepting your invitation. So I phoned up my nanny. And because I have 2 kids and Max wasn't there, so I had to arrange something. I got in the car, got all the cameras in, all the GPS stuff, and then I did a warm-up lap, and this was sort of my first run.
It's a stage 1 or stage 2.
Nothing special. We've done many of these. They never go wrong.
Yeah, they usually are very reliable and they perform well.
Until this one did.
Until this one. Yeah.
So I didn't really know what happened. It seemed like an engine warning light, just an engine warning light.
So this was the first
proper run,
first top speed run basically at our usual straight.
Our favorite straight. Coming out of the little corner right here.
Yeah.
Entering the main straight.
Yeah. So everything
it was feeling so good, and the acceleration times and stuff. It was all really good until I got this, like sort of out of the blue, and it was just an engine warning light. I mean, we've had
hundreds of engine warning lights or limp modes, basically, where the car decides something is wrong.
Yeah.
Please, drive slowly to, as it says here, service opzoeken. We're teaching you Dutch as well, so this basically means go to a dealership to get it fixed.
Yeah, so I went back to the parking spot where I met up with the owner and the tuner, and once I was at the parking spot, the engine started knocking and not feeling right. So what happened is that the tuner tuned the car and gave it to the customer, and then the customer decided, I want a different air filter. So he put in, I'm not going to name any brands.
Just a different air filter.
A different air filter, different intake system. That's what I know right now. But I don't know if it was not properly installed or anything, but the engine sucked in the air filter. So you can imagine, you have a cloth or a foam filter entering the intake manifold. That's going to destroy about anything that's in there. So that's exactly what happened. And then the owner blamed me for doing that. And he blamed me for leaving right after this video, because I had to leave. And I also told him I had to leave because of my babysitter that I had to.
Yeah. You need to get home to relieve the babysitter.
Exactly. Yeah.
We didn't ghost him.
No. I contacted the tuner.
Yeah, we were in constant contact with the tuner. He sent us pictures of what was happening, and also said to us, it was the aftermarket air filter that was installed that caused the problem.
I should have contacted him personally. That's me to blame.
This is also why we don't accept responsibility for technical failures, because someone installed a filter, a different thing on the car that ended up causing the failure. That would also have happened when he would have taken his car to the track.
Yeah, because he tracks it a lot.
So, are we to blame? Is that our fault? I don't think so. No. And we cannot accept responsibility for that, for all these cars that we drive, because
we are going to help him.
But we are looking into helping him. We always do that. We always try to see if we can do something to help out. We contact suppliers of parts. We usually also advise people. Also, the Supra was taken to a local shop here that was specialized in these engines. So we always try to help out and, you know, think with the owner about what to do and how to fix it. It's not like we just give the car back and leave and, like, you know, sucks to be you. But we cannot accept responsibility, because then anyone with, you know, a half bad tune or a bad engine that comes and then we do a run and it blows up and then we are responsible. We can't accept that.
No.
Yeah. So
then we wouldn't be here.
We wouldn't be in business if that was the case, because that would be that's just not a good idea. Also, I want to address the notification, the do not attempt in the top left corner. Got a lot of comments about that as well, that we claim to be experienced drivers and still ruin all these cars. It's experience. You shouldn't confuse experience with skill or talent. So I don't claim that we are highly skilled F1 drivers or that we are in any way superior. We have a lot of experience. We've driven 2,500.
There's no debating.
Yeah, we've driven 2,500 cars. 2,000 of those we've driven on the
autobahn. For 15
years. For 15 years, we have experience. The notification that you see on screen is not per se directed at you.
I also want to answer a question we've never answered. We've never had an accident.
We've never had an accident. Never.
On to you.
We've never had an accident. This notification is purely there for the YouTube people who have to basically check the video to see if it's suitable for advertising. And some of those people don't know about the existence of an unlimited autobahn where you can drive as fast as you want, as long as you're safe doing it. So we have to put that notification on screen for those people who check the videos at YouTube. It's not necessarily directed at you to let you know how good we are. It's mainly there for that purpose. I think that covers most of it. I hope we answered all your questions. I hope that we've been able to give you a little bit of a look behind the scenes of how this all goes. We've been doing it for 15 years. We've driven a lot of cars. We've met a lot of great people. You know, we've made a lot of really cool videos, and we hope to do it for a long time. But this is part of it. Shit happens.
Yeah.
Shit happens.
And we wanted to show that.
We wanted to share that with you as well.
Yeah.
And we didn't expect it to blow up like this, but yeah, cool. If you have any other questions, let us know in the comments. We'll try to answer those as well. Be civil about it, and we're always up for a little discussion. But yeah, I think we covered most of it. So thanks for watching.
Hello.
See you at the next one.
Go subscribe by clicking here.
Subscribe.
Video.
Like.
Playlist.
And see you at the next one.